Welcome to the Central Seminary podcast. We're delighted to have you with us today as we discuss biblical and theological issues relating to life and ministry. This podcast is a ministry of Central Baptist Theological Seminary in Plymouth, Minnesota. To learn more about Central Seminary, visit our website at www.centralseminary.edu. My name is Micah, and I'll be your host. Welcome to the Central Seminary podcast. Today, we have with us Pastor Matt Morrell, president of Central Seminary and pastor here at Fourth Baptist Church, and Joseph Schuller, who is concluding his pastoral internship here at Fourth Baptist Church and heading into pastoral ministry up in Sartell. So, guys, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Mike. It's great to be here.
Thanks. It's great to be here.
So we're going to talk a little bit on this episode about pastoral internships. And maybe you're a small church thinking, how can I tackle this? That's something for the big churches. Or maybe you are a sizable church thinking, man, I don't know how to formally begin this. Do we start it informally or formally? And we're going to talk through some of the benefits, some of the opportunities of the pastoral internship, and the necessary nature of raising up young men. So at Fourth Baptist Church, Pastor Matt, how have you developed the pastoral internship over your time? You've been here now 17 years as pastor of Fourth Baptist Church.
Yes. Yeah. Micah, before I even get to that, maybe I would begin by making the case for why pastoral interns matter to us at all. Yeah. Of course, the mandate in 2 Timothy 2:2 is that we identify faithful men and we train them up. A big part of that is a formal seminary education. And in partnership with Central Seminary, we're thrilled to have young men earn their graduate degrees in theology and prepare for ministry. However, there's a lot that cannot be learned in the classroom at Central Seminary, and there is a limit to what can be gained through a formal education process, and I think that's where the local church must necessarily supplement one's seminary education and serve as the laboratory for the hands-on experience and the exercising of one's ministry gifts. And so that's why I'm committed to internships, apprenticeships, pastoral assistance, and opportunities for young men in the local church. And that was even my own experience. I would boast of Pastor Ron Wagner from Macomb Baptist Church in Michigan, where I did an internship during Bible college. I would rise up and give gratitude to Dr. Ernie Schmidt, who helped me as a young man and mentored me early in pastoral ministry. And so we hope to do the same thing and reduplicate that.
In your pastoral internship, and I'm just even thinking as you began that, how did you step into a pastoral internship?
Well, most Bible college and seminary programs do expect some sort of an internship program for their pastoral students. And so it was thrust upon me as an expectation and a prerequisite for graduation. In hindsight, I'm grateful for that because it did put that expectation upon me. Many churches will do summer internships. That's a common thing. Maybe even in many industries, a few-month internship. Here recently, I know the talking point today is regarding Joseph. We provided a paid year-long internship as part of Joseph's Master of Divinity program.
Joseph, how did you begin in that? You were sort of seeing this come, but give us a little of your background even to begin the pastoral internship program.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a great question as well. Kind of out of high school, I was wondering what I wanted to do with my life. And after going to camp for a summer to serve as a Christian camp counselor and reading a couple books like Don't Waste Your Life by John Piper, and there's another one called Just Do Something. I forget who wrote that one. But those were really helpful tools to get me thinking about what I wanted to do with my life, how I wanted to use it for God. And through that and my ministry at camp, I felt God leading me to ministry. So I decided, okay, I can try out these different areas. So I went to the Navigators at the U of M. I spent a year with them and helping them out with evangelism, getting to know the people there. I went back to camp a couple times during the summers and during the years, just for retreats and stuff like that. But really what I found most helpful was the pastoral internship here at Fourth, just getting a gauge for what church ministry is like, and that was super helpful for me, and that's kind of how I got into that.
What advice would you give somebody who's thinking in that same way, that maybe they've read a book and they're desiring pastoral ministry? It's a noble thing for a man to desire that office of a bishop. What advice would you give to somebody in your shoes doing a similar idea of a pathway?
Yeah. I would say definitely give it a shot. So I would say go up to your pastor, ask them. And I recognize small churches might not have too many resources to be able to have them on in a full-time capacity like they had with myself here. But I'd say talk to your pastor, talk about ways to get involved with the church. It could be teaching. It could be being on a preaching rotation. It could even just being involved in discussions with church matters. I would say go for it. Just take the next step with that. And I feel like as you progress in that, as you immerse yourself more in discussions and in the church, you'll find out whether or not church ministry would be for you.
Pastor Matt, when you are developing a pastoral internship program, how are you preparing the congregation to welcome in a young man? And what benefit does that have even for the congregation in that initial process?
Well, I'm always thrilled to highlight our church's partnership with Central Seminary and our commitment to help train the next generation of pastors, servant leaders, missionaries, and such. I inherited a situation here at Fourth Baptist where that's just been part of the DNA and part of the culture here. And so the congregation embraces that and welcomes that and is thrilled by that. But I think messaging to a church congregation that we have a unique opportunity to give a young man experience in shepherding, in teaching, preaching, and such. I think people understand that and get on board with that. Many different industries have apprentices and internships, and so it's well received.
Joseph, could you run us through what your week? So you did a 12-month internship. That may be a little longer than some have capacity for, but also the intentionality of doing that. What were some of the expectations of you in that internship as you developed, and how did that have an impact on you?
Yeah, so there's a lot of different things that I did. I did a lot of teaching and preaching as well, so I was able to be in a couple of the rotations. So I taught specifically in the youth group, so I would work with Pastor Marcio. There'd be a couple times when the junior hires and the senior hires would split up if there's different topics he'd like to go over specifically with one age group or the other. And I would take time to teach the other one. I'd also have the opportunity several times this last year to be able to Sunday nights. So there's a lot of that by itself. And then also there's just a lot of filling in where I'm needed. So there's a couple times I went down to the school and I was able to fill in for a Bible class and help out with some of that stuff. I would say two of the more major opportunities I've had is just being able to coordinate events and activities. So there's this one activity that I started and was able to create from scratch for young adults. And probably every other month or so, I would invite young adults from other churches, and we'd get together, just have some fellowship. So I'd be able to email those people who are interested and be able to create the event, organize the activities. So I learned a lot through that. There's a lot of good stuff that came out of that. Another thing I did was just organize and coordinate men's event we had here at the church for so basically a couple hundred men from the Midwest came to Fourth and was able to just gather together for a conference. So I was able to coordinate that and talk to the coordinators from Men for Christ, which was the name of the event, and then talk to the people here at the church that I needed help for volunteers.
What was stretching for you in that? Did you get thrust into any areas where you realized, hey, I really haven't developed in that area, but that internship gave you an opportunity to stretch yourself?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I haven't really organized too many things like that. So organizing an event for a couple hundred men, that's kind of going into that was like, whoa, like how am I supposed to do this exactly? Because, I'm contacting the people at Men for Christ. I'm contacting volunteers within the church, asking them if they can record the breakout sessions, even to just making sure tables are set up, the gym's being set up and tore down when it's needed. So that was pretty stretching for me, just being able to take charge of a big event like that and be able to coordinate with people and ask for help and delegate some responsibilities.
Could I interject here?
Yeah.
We often think of the intern as the one who does the slave labor, the grunt work, the one who's dispatched to fetch the coffee and the donuts, or to set up or take down, or to work with the children. And so there were many things that Joseph did this last year to help us administratively executing events and coordinating programs and informal teaching or preaching and whatnot. But I actually would contend that the greatest impact of an internship is not the task list. It's not checking the boxes of I made a hospital visit and I helped plan a funeral and I perhaps led the ordinances or anything else like that, but it's what is caught. More is caught than taught. And we made a big priority of just letting Joseph live life with us as a pastoral team and a shepherding team. So Joseph was part of all of our weekly staff meetings. He was part of deacons meetings, other committee meetings. He was accompanying us on lunches or other conversations. There among our pastors, a lot of conversations about philosophy of ministry, planning and vision casting, and even arguing over different matters that needed attention. And I would contend that is where the richness of an internship. And I would say to any young men who are listening, if you have an opportunity to attach yourself to seasoned veteran pastors and just do life with them in ministry, that is going to be worth its weight in gold. Whether you're paid or unpaid, whether it's a summer internship, a year-long internship, it doesn't matter. Becoming one's disciple and being mentored. And I would say the same thing for the seasoned pastors. Find a young man and invite him to be part of your ministry. Maybe you can't afford a stipend or any compensation. That's fine. Just say, hey, can I mentor you, and would you be willing to labor with me in ministry?
What did that take for you, Matt, for a commitment either of time, just on a regular basis? Were there specific times you would meet with the intern? There were those informal times,
yeah.
But other specific things you built into your schedule to be attentive to that?
Sure, absolutely. In our case, having a plurality of pastors, pastoral staff, we were able to share our time with Joseph. There were formal conversations that we had, but most of it was, hey, come along with me. Hey, Joseph, contribute to this conversation. We've got a circumstance in our church. Maybe we're going through a church discipline matter. Joseph, will you talk with us and pray with us, and let's labor through what the best wisdom and judgment in addressing a matter would be. Obviously, this demands confidentiality on the intern's part. There were times where we asked Joseph to recuse himself from a conversation because it was a delicate matter, and we wanted to keep the circle small as possible. But I don't know that an intern has to be a burden if he's considered a partner and can be part of the shepherding process.
You mentioned a couple of those models that you got to see as you were understanding what it looked like for a pastor to pour into that next generation. Pastor Matt, what were some of the other models that you might identify or maybe even point people to look to say, hey, look at a way to develop that pastoral relationship in training young men?
Well, I would say first, as a disclaimer, every situation is going to be different. Mm-hmm. Small church, large church, urban church, rural church. Every intern is going to be different skill sets and giftedness. So I hate to suggest that anyone must do it as we have done it. I think there is a model in which it's a part-time matter. I think there's a model in which it's a short-term matter. I think there can be a grocery list of boxes to check. Hey, give an intern an opportunity for a house call, a hospital visit, to lead the Lord's table, or to plan a service, or to preach formally, all of those things that we would think are part of a job description of a pastor. But I also think it could be as informal as just doing life together. There could be homework assignments. Here at Fourth Baptist, we don't assign reading and papers and written assignments and such because that's happening as part of their seminary education, and we're not trying to reduplicate that. In fact, we're leaving that to the professionals, the experts. We're not laboring through systematic theology or such. We're working through practical, hands-on ministry philosophy and the rhythms of ministry.
If we would talk shop, maybe like a summer internship, what could a 10-week internship look like for a church? Maybe looking towards next summer or something like that. What could be just some simple points to put in place for a summer internship?
Yeah, I think if you're doing a summer internship, you may be using a Bible college student, maybe 19 years old, 21 years old. In Joseph's case, he's in the Master of Divinity. He's older. In fact, he's set to be married this very weekend. For the summer internship, I think it would be creating a grocery list of things that he could experience and observe. Hey, in these 10 weeks, we want you to be able to witness, observe, and participate in this dozen different things. A summer internship is brief, right? And not the full range of opportunities that might happen in the course of a year. So, for example, in funeral planning, I remember, Joseph, we went to the funeral home and we met with the funeral home director and the grieving family, and we planned for a funeral service on site there. If it's a 10-week summer internship, you might not have a funeral or a wedding or, some of these other matters. But just giving a student, Bible college student, seminary student, or a young man aspiring for ministry, just the opportunity to be on the inside of what happens during the course of a week, that would be good.
And I think, kind of to add to that too, there was a lot I learned and took away from even just the informal conversations of being around the other pastors. That's been really helpful for me in forming my philosophy and being able to think through some things. So I'd say that's definitely a big part of it, is just being around for the conversations.
So you mentioned something there that I got to ask you about, getting married. Joseph, that little excitement coming up.
Absolutely.
So tell us about that. Just what are the next steps for you, concluding this internship, and then the next step for you guys as a couple. Then, as you move, and tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I'm getting married this weekend, this Saturday, to a girl I met at my previous church, and we went a while no contact. We got back in contact last year around July, so we're very excited, very much looking forward to our life together. So we're just in the process right now of getting an apartment and moving into that. But yeah, so right now I've actually just been called to a church in Sartell, Minnesota, and we're very much looking forward to that. They called me as their assistant pastor, so I'll be getting started there after the honeymoon around mid-June point. So that's very exciting for us, and she has a way to be plugged into the church, and I've already been able, just because of the proximity of us to them right now, I've been able to go there multiple times, get to know some of the people, get to preach there a couple times. And we're both very excited for that prospect of not only getting married, but also going up to be a part of a new church together and serve there.
Which is really the dream, right? Often internships lead to employment. And in this case, God in his sweet providence is right on the back end of a year-long internship providing ministry placement for Joseph. And so we're thrilled for him.
Where are some of the other guys gone from the pastoral internship? I'm just thinking of Fourth Baptist Church into pastoral ministry, and then what does it look like to maybe touch base with them in their vineyard of the world?
Yeah, well, and I'm just mentally thinking through, all of them that I'm mindful of are in pastoral ministry, New York, Michigan, Wisconsin. They have all launched at some point, not seamlessly as Joseph is doing. Perhaps they're finishing their Bible college education or their seminary degree, but they are out serving the Lord. Some of them, I'm sure, are referencing their experience with us and doing things like we do things, and others are referencing their experience in their internship and not doing things because of what they observed or learned. But that's okay, because experience is maybe the best teacher. Experience remembered is even the better teacher. So we're so thrilled to just have a little contribution to their preparation.
For the church member thinking about this and wanting and excited about that possibility of being involved in training a pastor, how can a church member be involved? Maybe, Joseph, what are some of the ways that church members had a significant part of your time over this last year?
I would say encouraging is a big part of it. Since I was in the internship, and I'm sure that other people who might be in the internship, they're asking themselves, does God want me here? Does God want me in a church ministry? Am I equipped for it? Do I have the gifting for it? So I feel like the encouragement of a church member goes a long way. I feel like if a church member comes up to me after I'm done preaching and they say, you know what, I think you did a really good job. I think God has gifted you with public speaking, with teaching. That's a huge encouragement to me, because while I'm here, I'm looking for affirmation that this is God's will for my life. So I think encouragement has a really big role to play in that.
Pastor Matt, maybe what are some other ways you point people to be involved in this, to maybe step out of their comfort zone? As an intern stepping out of their comfort zone, maybe helping the congregation into, maybe they're learning a new young person and saying, how do I involve myself in their life?
Yeah, I think it happens naturally as we're publicly referencing our intern as perhaps leading a ministry initiative or a program or participating. Well, let's even go back to the opportunity to preach. We announced, hey, our pastoral internship will be preaching this next Sunday evening, and we would encourage you all to come and hear him. He's not performing. He is presenting the ministry of the Word, and the Spirit of God will take the Word of God and will use that, whether he stumbles or whether he goes short or long or whatever the case, and just exhorting people to be part of that. And then, as Joseph mentioned, as the congregation is able to observe his giftedness and affirm that, I think that's such an important part of a young man's preparation, to have the affirmation of God's people regarding his giftedness. Now, of course, nobody knows this, but the week before, Joseph practiced his preaching, right? And the pastors sat in an empty auditorium, and we listened to him practice his sermon, and we critiqued that, and we coached him, and with constructive criticism, and so that when he stepped into the pulpit publicly, he was well prepared. He had rightly divided the word of truth, and he had organized it and presented it well. And then our congregation did gain from his preaching a few different times.
I want to take it maybe from the seminary angle. As president of Central Seminary, you get to lead that pastoral internship program with the men that are going through that. What does the seminary gain as a benefit of the pastoral? I know what the pastoral interns receive from it. What does the seminary receive from it?
Yeah, so Central Seminary's mission is to assist New Testament local churches in training or equipping this next generation. And so I am thrilled at churches that are partnering with us. It's a partnership, mutually beneficial, because as I mentioned just a few moments ago, there are so many things that Central Seminary cannot teach and cannot provide for a ministerial student. And so as I meet weekly with the pastoral practicum class, which are those men, part of their Master Divinity program, and we're talking shop and we're recounting experiences and opportunities, it's just such a great combination. The formal hard sciences of theology and languages and such with the practical application of those things. It's a win-win situation.
As you step into, Joseph, the pastoral ministry aspect of your seminary training, what are some of the things you're looking forward to being? You were an intern, and now you're being an associate pastor, assistant pastor. How are you going to balance the seminary and pastoring? How are you looking forward to some of that? Just how it's going to come together?
I'll answer that for him. I don't think he has any idea, right?
No,
he's getting married.
On this side.
He's getting married. He's going to keep working on the MDiv, and he's becoming an assistant pastor.
Yep.
So he's in
How
the
are you going to do it?
He's in the deep end of the pool.
Man, I'd say probably take it slow, at least with the seminary education. I'm at a place where probably at the end of this year I'll be a little over halfway, and I've not yet started Greek yet. So I've got at least 3 years left on it, so I'm able to slow down a little bit and take my time a little bit more with the classes there. But that's probably the plan, is just focus on being married, focus on shepherding the new church that I'll be at, and just being faithful in those areas, and do seminary as I have the time and resources to.
What would be some common pitfalls, maybe, Joseph, as you come through this 12 months? You got Pastor Matt here too, but what might be some pitfalls that you would give advice to a young man that's looking for that internship? You gave some advice on the front end. What now, looking back, might you be encouraging of a young man just to be careful of as they approach this internship opportunity?
Sure. I would say when you go into it, know what you want to get out of it. So, and be very intentional about getting that. For me, I wanted experience in different areas of ministry. I wanted to be able to have those conversations with the other pastors. And I feel like you have to be going into it and very intentional with asking or approaching your pastor if God is leading you towards an internship. So make sure you are putting yourself in situations where you can have those conversations. Like if you want to do an internship, be present in the building if you find conversations, informal conversations, to be important, because you don't want to go through the internship and not achieve some of that you want to get out of it.
Pastor Matt, what would, just as we conclude thinking about the internship, what does success look like for a pastor that's looking like this? Maybe is not going to be every situation where Joseph, he stepped right into pastoral ministry and that's a transition. But maybe the spectrum of success for a pastoral internship program.
I think success has to be measured over a long period of time. And just as we lay hands on no one quickly, we are careful and cautious to observe faithfulness and giftedness, and to be able to clearly identify God's leading in a man's life, so that at some point in the future, we will look back and we will say, we were successful in being a part of a man's preparation for ministry. There are a lot of pieces that go into one's preparation for ministry, I think even beginning in their youth, maybe through formal education, through internship and other experience and opportunities. I would count Joseph's internship here as successful if 3 years from now, he reaches back out to us and say, hey, I want to update you with what's happening in my life, in our church ministry, and he would be able to point to some lessons that he learned or opportunities that he had. I think that's where we would rejoice in the success of an internship.
And thank you, men, both, for being part of this discussion. And I hope that as our listeners are thinking about this, maybe they're part of that process, whether a pastor or a church member, that they could reach out to us at Central Seminary. We'd love to share some ideas, maybe some structure that could be that. And Joseph, I wish you well in marriage and this transition up to pastoral ministry in Sartell. Thank you, guys. Thanks for listening to the Central Seminary podcast. Our mission at Central Seminary is to assist New Testament churches in equipping spiritual leaders for Christ-exalting biblical ministry. Since its founding in 1956, Central Seminary has sought to provide serious students of God's Word with robust theological education as they prepare for ministry. We have graduates around the world who are serving in countless ways to spread the gospel and proclaim the name of Jesus Christ. Find out more at our website, centralseminary.edu.